Welcome back, Flashpoint. A lot on our table this morning. I want to move now, Susan, to the gerrymandering case. This already appears destined perhaps to be decided by the Supreme Court. But in the interim, trying to figure out all these moving parts where the state has already, voters of Michigan have already said, look, we know this is a problem, we're going to address this. And this suit suggesting, no, you're going to have to fix it before you're ready to, which could mean Senate seats open in 2020, state Senate seats. Where do you see all this going?
Right. I mean, 2020 was already going to be quite the election because the presidency is on the line. But now we could even have state Senate seats, which, are not supposed to be up until 2022. But the three-judge panel ruled that it was such a dire situation that we needed a remedy sooner than that. So it's supposed to be up to the legislature to be drawing new lines right now. They do not seem to be hard at work on this, just like with the gas tax or some road remedy. So we'll see. But it is supposed to be up to the legislature, then go to the governor. And
for now, that changes with the committee that
Right. In 2022, we'll have an independent commission. However, if the legislature decides not to take a crack at it or if they come up with an insufficient solution, that federal judge panel said, we're more than happy to draw the lines to make sure they're fair.
What do you expect to happen here, Ian?
I think they're going to end up drawing them. Ultimately, the initial 34 Senate seats that were placed up, as well as a number of the House seats, create their own Rubiks Cube, if you will. You can't change one district without changing the other. And I think that's true not only for the congressional districts, but for those, all the way through. And when you look at the fact that we're losing population, remember in 2020 after the census, we'll likely lose a congressional seat. And so all of that comes into play. I think the right move is to have separate elections each year. When folks aren't represented, you don't get a good result in Lansing.
Yeah, Dustin, to your population problem, we lose a Senate seat, and you change the way that the districts are drawn. Electorally, politically, Michigan could look like a very, very different place 5 years from now.
It absolutely could, and that's scary for what we're trying to get accomplished now, right? So how do these things get done that we need now, especially if we don't have any solutions? And then what happens in 2020? What happens in 2022? All things.
Is it scary, or is there a chance that it's better?
I don't know. Well,
well, yeah.
That's scary any which way you look at it. All right? We're talking about politics.
We don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know, and that's I think it's frightening. Maybe hopeful for some, maybe frightening for others. I don't know.
Yeah. Sandy, I want to move to a couple other issues here real quickly. We've been watching a really fascinating thing happening in Eastern Market. We've got some new property owners that have come in, owning a lot of buildings. And the one thing about Eastern Market is everybody wants it to stay the same, only better. So that means that it, of course, needs constant upkeep. They have improved a lot of things. But we've got this iconic Russell Street Deli moving out, a very emotional Facebook post about that this past week. Is this just kind of how it happens in a succeeding city, or is there a better way to do this?
Yeah, I think what's happening in Eastern Market is an analogy to what's happening in Detroit. Change is happening, change is occurring, and sometimes that change is uncomfortable. I mean, there's a lot of film at 11 on this Russell Street Deli situation, and I think you can look at both sides and say, what's going on here.
You don't have anything against film at 11, do you?
I'm surprised you guys still use film. No, but first of all, I mean, Russell Street Deli's been there 30 years. It's an iconic thing, but sometimes change is good and necessary. The one thing I know that's going to happen at Eastern Market, especially with Dan Carmody at the wheel there, is that Russell Street Deli is one, they're not done talking to Eastern Market, so they still might remain in Eastern Market. That's film at 11. And secondly, whatever happens in the existing Russell Street Deli space is not going to be a McDonald's or a Panera. It is going to be something authentic that is Detroit. And they've got lots of projects underway. And, we have to remember that Eastern Market is really about, food innovation and food agriculture processing, and the restaurants and the sheds there are for the rest of us. So it's got to be a shared use facility.
I wonder if we're going to see the same thing in Corktown eventually. Everybody loves the authentic feel of Corktown. It's already changing quite a bit, but now with Ford moving in to the train station, the economic pressure, it's already starting to happen.
And I think what's happening in Detroit, finally, is what cities around the country have been dealing with for the past 5 or 10 years. As folks move back into the city and rents start to go up and new products come online, there's going to be that tension, whether it's cultural, whether it's food, whether it's the places we go and the places that we sometimes park. There's going to be issues. I'd say, the example of the Russell Street Deli hopefully can serve as a message to all the businesses, all the folks coming into town, that the community's paying attention. Folks are not going to sit by if landmarks or institutions are feeling that pressure. Now, the real player with Eastern Market stepping in to mediate, I think they deserve big kudos for getting involved with what's clearly become a very emotional issue.
People are paying a lot of attention. When we talked about this last week on the program, Dustin, though, the debate over what's happening or not happening in District Detroit, sure. There really is an engagement right now of people watching very closely what's happening in their city or their neighborhood.
Yeah, and I agree with Ian. I mean, no one likes to see these situations play out necessarily, but I tell you what, it's great that they're happening, because it's a sign of the things we've all wanted, right? We've all wanted Detroit to get better. Well, this is what happens when things get better.
I think that every time I'm sitting in traffic downtown.
That's right.
I used to dream about traffic downtown.
I sort of missed the recession a little bit just because traffic was better. But I mean, these are the things. These are inflection points, and these are things that need to happen. Sometimes they're ugly. Sometimes there's casualties in it, and that's just how it works.
The cost of success is tough, especially when you try to marry it with this authenticity that is so important to people who live anywhere, but especially in a city like Detroit. They want to feel like we're still connected to these old things, but they're not free.
Right. And of course, for the residents who stuck it out in the bad times, they're seeing their rents go up. At the Michigan Advance, we did a story on retired teacher Eloise Halliburton, who's on the verge of losing her home of many decades because she just can't afford it. She fell behind on her payments, and it's a story that's going on in hundreds, if not thousands, of other units as well, because the price of progress sometimes does leave some people behind. And so there's always the push and pull. But, as Dustin has said, we've all wanted to see Detroit come back. It's just for the people who have been here for decades and really wanted to be part of that, it's important for them to, not be left behind.
Sandy?
I was just going to say real quickly, I've lived in 3 cities that have gone through significant renaissances, Portland, Oregon, and Washington, D.C., and I would say that Detroit is handling its renaissance far more sensitively than just about any other place. And I have friends, I think we all have friends who live in Brooklyn, right? Mm-hmm. And just to see what that has done. I mean, to Ian's point, sometimes, improvement comes destruction, comes rejuvenation, and sometimes that process is not pretty, and sometimes there are casualties that we all regret. But at the end of the day, I think we're doing it better than anybody else.
It really is a tricky balance to strike, and one that has obviously spawned a lot of conversation here at this table, and will continue to do so. Gang, thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll say so long to a titan of Detroit life, Judge Damon Keith. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.